Today is Darwin Day, and I want to commemorate his memory and his works. They have vastly improved our knowledge and our not just our knowledge, but Darwin has always inspired me. He wasn't infallible. In fact, he was a Christian, if I'm not mistaken. And uh, since then, we have improved on his initial findings and methods, etc. So, just want to say happy Darwin's Day to everyone. Now, there is a certain company which starts with a capital G that has not made a doodle of his day, and I find that utterly disgusting and I'm completely um, insulted by that because they have made doodles of so much insignificant shit. And so, that being said, we will go on to our go on to his to this tonight's stream. And I made a survey a couple of days ago to find out what you guys, people here that follow me, wanted to me to talk about, and they basically okay the the uh, the actual choices were Neanderthals, Egyptians, other, and I can't remember the fourth one. I'll just check because I have it here. Come on, Twitter, be fast. It was Neanderthals, Egyptians, the Neolithic, and other. And the Neanderthals won. So we're going to talk about Neanderthals today. And I found this little interesting. Well, today I received another awesome article, and it's for Wednesday. So you guys have better tune in Wednesday at 9 p.m. London time. I'm doing it on Wednesdays an hour earlier because I may conflict with the stream of a friend of mine, and I want Mod Wayne's stream. Everyone should check him out. He's in the chat here, so everyone should check out his stream on Wednesdays when he does them. I hope he does them all the time. But anyway, today we're going to talk about Neanderthals, excuse me, faces and their distinctive shape. And I'm just going to share. Um, I saw this article basically today, so I've just read through it. It's quite interesting. I did not know that what we are about to read. So we are going to share. And we have here an awesome example of a Neanderthal, and it's from the National History Museum. That's one of the articles which I've picked out. There were a few others, but this one's good. I have in the description the actual study. Unfortunately, it's also behind. It's behind a pay. No, no, it's not behind a paywall. You can download the actual study. It's in PDF. If you guys want to read it, it's quite interesting because it's done from a dentistry perspective, and see. Um, Archaeology draws on a lot of different sources. And so please do check out the actual study. It is not that big, it is very, very interesting. And I've read it. Yes, I've read it. And I'm sort of I'm in a sort of a phase where I'm getting into the morphology and genetics of evolution, human evolution in particular, or our hominins evolution, which I love, absolutely adore. Now, you guys obviously know that I absolutely love Neanderthals. They were so fascinating, and also us, H sapiens sapiens and H sapiens, our earlier um, and our earlier examples of us. and it is. I honestly find it fascinating. I hope I transmit this fascination to you guys because it is fascinating. Uh, I'm repeating myself. I apologize. Now let's start with this with the article. So, study reveals how Neanderthal faces changed throughout their lives to develop their characteristic protruding shape. Compared to the rest of the human tree, it turns out that we, H. sapiens, are the unusual ones. Now, I have another art. I have an article which goes back to a video I did on the one of the earliest examples of our species, H. sapiens, sapiens, archaic H. sapiens, and we will compare. And I'll just go back to that. So, Neanderthals' upper jaw bones continue growing forward for years after they were born, explaining the distinctive protruding face shape of this extinct human species. That is, this just yes, they were human species, human race, in fact. But that's for another video. No, I've already covered it enough. So yeah. So unlike modern humans whose faces remain flat as they grow, Neanderthals had cells in their upper jaw bones which continued producing bone tissue throughout their teenage years. Um, because of the ancient humans and early relatives of the Australopithecines, southern apes, that's what it means. Australopithecines means actually translate to southern apes. You know, Australopithecines afarensis, africanus, sabida. I'm not mistaken. Yes, Australopithecines sabida. They are the three known. Lucy was Australopithecines uh, afarensis from Kenya. Uh, the lower ones, I've talked about this Littlefoot. He was an Australopithecine, and but ancestor to Africanus, which is a South African Australopithecine, even more southern than that. So I've talked about it. Just getting back to the videos I've talked about. Um, they have a protruding face. Our flatter face are unique among among human species. That's how I say it. Among. Anyway, never mind. And it emerged uh, very recently. Yes, it did. Now I'm going to go to this article, which is from oh, better put it smaller, from Jebel Irud, the oldest. I accept this, and I probably will be proven correct. This is the oldest example of H. sapiens that led to us, H. sapiens sapiens. And it's been sort of corroborated a little bit from my last video or the last before that, the Israeli video, where they found an example of early H. sapiens 200 and something thousand years, 200,000 years. So, yes. Now, as you can see, but I'm just going to show this picture. As you can see from his face, it is protruding. It is more protruding than ours. If you guys just have to put your hand on your face, you know that it's flat compared to the nose. This this example, the Jebel Erud, still has the slightly protruding face. He does have a chin though. That is a chin. That is a prominent chin. That is the most distinguishing feature we have between us, sapiens, or whatever, and our earlier, and now any other of the human um, hominins. That is to bear in mind. The chin, the forehead of Jebel Rud is still not completely, basically straight up as ours is, and the occipital torus or the brow ridges are still protruding, but it doesn't matter. He led to us. He has a chin. No other hominins before us had a chin. That's the distinguishing feature. And I will stand up in front of any archaeologist, and I will and I will be vindicated. Now, what did they do? Let's before I this is a video, I'm going to play it, but before that, I'll just read this a little bit. The study published in the journal Nature Communications, I have it linked in the description, and I have a link to where you guys can actually download the the PDF of the study. So it I try to do this for you, for not just for you, but for me as well. I try to present as much as I can the the um, the study where you guys can read and on your own leisure. So it showed that it focused on the upper jawbone of the Neanderthal child who was just under 5 years old at the time of his death, and the fossil was found in 1926 among four other fossil fragments from the same child at the site of Gibraltar's called Devil's Tower. Gibraltar seems to be the last, we find the last remnants of Neanderthals. So they were where they that was their last bastion, and this was a 5-year-old child. And the video does has no. I'm gonna play the video. So let me just put my headphones on so it will not um, uh, will not basically. So I won't echo, and we will play this little video. Only 45 seconds. No sound. One sec. I'll repair that. Why isn't there's no sound? Just one sec. Should be sound. Oh, shit. Uh, did you guys did you guys hear the sound? What the hell? Oh man, yeah, try and see why it did not play. I know that's guys. I'm sorry. Anyway, I've linked the video in the well. I've linked this article. So I sometimes crap happens. I don't know why there's no sound. I apologize. It's a small. Uh, oh man, it should play. I'm not going to focus on this. It's a 44-second video. This article's in the description. Click on it, listen to the sound. Just basically says that the child was found in the Gibraltar. He's a 5-year-old child. Basically, he died when he was 5 years old. He had facial growth from more or less from differentiated from modern humans, as this continues to say. Um, but even then, apparently, the Museum of Chris Stringer, which is this archaeologist, he shows that basically they have some cells that 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 they've encountered with when they were studying these fossils, that they are different from us, and we'll read back down. So I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it. Even I couldn't hear it. I don't know why. It should work. I don't know why it's not working, but let's not linger on with this. Um, basically the research shows how a 90 fossil found 90 years ago could provide crucial information on human evolution through investigating techniques. Obviously, that's the child, Neanderthal child, and his occipital toruses aren't very pronounced, but he does not have a chin. Even though it looks like it, he does not have a chin. That is the characteristic feature of us. But this is the important part we're going to see now. The different shapes of apes, ancient humans, and modern humans are in part a result of the way skulls grow and develop after birth. This process is known as bone remodeling. Right? When we grow, as we grow up after we are born, um, our anatomy uh, um, obviously changes as we grow, and uh, our uh, below our neckline just extends, it just enlarges, but in our head, it is quite. There are quite a lot of processes that occur with us. Um, we'll read it in because I'm learning this as well. Like I said before, I'm learning morphology and some genetics, and genetics as much as I can through these articles. And this is just shows that how morphology between the different species and the different hominin species and the different Neanderthals, us, and Denisovans, etc., and our ancestors, which our ancestor, by the way, is, I still say, is Heidelbergensis, H. Heidelbergensis, which will come back later. So, in modern humans, this process is the bone tissue predominantly add to the upper parts of the face, the nose and the forehead, removed from the lower middle area, specifically the upper jawbone. So we do not, our the bones do not grow outwards in our lower and more or less where our cheek is, the upper jawbone. Our head it extends upwards as our brain expands. I don't know. I don't know that process yet, or I don't know that process, but uh, but it does extend. Our skull um, does enlarge because a child's brain is not 1.2 liters average, uh, where a human brain is. Human adult brain is 1.2 average. That's between 1.1 and 1.3 liters. That's what I meant to say. 1.2 liters. Cubic centimeters, whatever you want to, 1,200 cubic, 1.2 cubics. It's 1.2 liters, more or less average. Having a drink. So, this leaves us with a flatter face in adulthood. Now, they were using scanning electron microscope, and the researchers found that Neanderthal child from Gibraltar had many active cells responsible for bone building bone tissue, the osteoblasts. Now, there is two type of cells we have. We have the osteoblasts and the osteoclasts. In humans, there is osteoclasts in our more or less in our low and upper jaw and our lower jaw, which absorbs so we don't our faces does not protrude forward. But in Neanderthals, they found that the osteoblasts were more active, so they deposited um, bone material, meaning that their faces would be protruding, and so there is no active cells responsible for the breaking bone tissue down, the osteoclasts, which I have a vague, a very limited understanding of what they actually do. I am not an anatomist. I am simply an archaeologist, so I'll have to rely on experts, and the study was done by experts who know how this works, and it's in the description. So, the actual study. So everyone who wants to um, read it should go there. Yes, Eric Lee brought up a. I'm just watching the stream. Eric Lee, yes, osteoblasts help mend a broken leg. Exactly. And firstly, they build up a massive bone around the break, and then the osteoclasts reduce that size um, of that repair section, so it more or less is the not that far behind. So yes, that's what happens. Uh, well, genetics, H sapiens are all the same genetically in that aspect, Eric Lee. It will they won't curve our legs to be Neanderthal, for example. But that's another um, question we can ask answer some other day. So this implies that the characteristic protruding upper jaw of the Neanderthals was the result of extensive bone remodeling after birth. Exactly the opposite, the exact opposite of humans. Well, yeah, um, where bone remodeling results in a less protruding upper jaw. The face, yeah, the nose, where the nose is, the front teeth, and somewhat of the lower jawbone as well, as it has to match. From this article, from this picture, um, well, that doesn't say much there. So it shows here this picture those little dots and the purple area. So the cellular analysis of the skulls of Neanderthals and coming back later, Cimadelos huesos hominins. The purple indicates the presence of cells from bone growth deposition, and the turquoise indicates cells from bone removal reabsorption. So basically, you can see that there is less reabsorption of the bone material, calcium basically. That's what bone is. Um, in in um, in the earlier hominins compared to us. So they talk about the Cima de los Huesos hominins. Cima de los Huesos is a cave system in northern Spain, Burgos, where they have found fossils from um, about basically from Homo erectus to modern humans. Basically, um, it's just a, it's a cave and then to make an analogy an Aladdin's cave of treasure for archaeologists and anthropologists. It is just so much material there, covering such a vast expanse of time. And so the team found similar results from other Neanderthal fossils. Of course, they did. They don't just analyze one group, they analyze a lot of other fossils. So, a group approximately 430,000-year-old hominins from Simila de los Huesos in Spain, who are thought to be the ancestors of Neanderthals. Yes, they are thought, but I go, this is my personal um, stance, my assertion, and it's for the record. Um, the 430-year-old hominins from Cima de los Huesos are, to me, H. heidelbergensis. And they, still to me, they are the ancestors in Europe of H. sapiens neanderthalensis, and in Africa, H. sapiens sapiens, or H. sapiens archaic sapiens like the one I showed before, Jebel Irhoud, I hope I pronounced it right, and Neanderthals. So the Heidelbergensis show the same type of growth patterns that Neanderthals do, but we don't. It seems to imply that the African version or the African version of Heidelbergensis evolved in a certain way where our faces were not were not developing in a protruding manner, but that's how evolution goes. It's not delineating to anything; it just happens. It does not give us really any advantage having a flat face or a protruding face because I've thought about it before, and there's not really any evolutionary advantage. Our noses, we don't breathe better, even though we have a slightly smaller nasal cavity than Neanderthals, which is in fact a little bit contradictory. Well, see, we run a lot. We can run really, really long distances, but that's been since H. Erectus. We have we can outrun all other animals on Earth. Our stamina is uh, such that we can outrun them. We sweat. We cool down. Other animals do not have that ability, and we need to breathe. And apparently, uh, it, um, our noses were not did not evolve in a cold climate because Neanderthals did, and the cold climate, big nasal cavities, is to cool down the air much more, so it won't burn the lungs, etc. Because in Europe and Eurasia, the cold climate would have needed larger nasal cavities. When we finally did go in one when we finally did um, go into I'm talking about H sapiens when we finally moved into Eurasia on all of at least three migratory movements. um, we had our own abilities to counteract any of the uh, severe climatic conditions that were there. So that is this is what I just talked about is my assertions. It is not what they are proving here. What they're saying here is that given that known species of ancient hominins have similar protruding faces, flatter shape of the modern humans must have emerged only recently. Yes, they did with us. I would say 70,000 years ago. That's how recent it may have appeared from our last out of Africa movement. The researchers have pinned down so they pinned down exactly when, where, and why this happened. Right, the researchers say that pinning down exactly when, where, and why this happened should be focus for future work. Yes, it should. When did we evolve our flat faces? Like someone grabbed a shovel and just banged us into it. uh, so that study shows that in the faces of Neanderthals and humans, uh, different key development processes. Yes, they do, allowing us to understand how some Neanderthals traits came about. Exactly. And so that in sense, Neanderthals are not a developmental oddity. We are H sapiens. We are the freaks. So yes, we've come to the end of the article, and basically, basically that's it. Wednesday I'm doing another stream. I can't be too controversial, darn it, because the last stream I did on Cheddar Man, I was demonetized for a day, and I just have to be careful of what I say. Darn it, those bots are bad people. So, um, so yeah, people, we're going to end it here, and thank you all for attending. I hope I've not bored you to tears. I tried to explain the science as well as I know it. I don't think I was wrong. I think I have enough, not wanting to push the gravy to my side, but yeah, Giovanna, yes, Wesley is a soy boy. that, that being said, I end the stream and thank you all for coming to watch. Thank you.